Hi guys. So today's video is going to be really interesting one because yesterday in my academic class, a couple of guys asked like, how is the economic situation in Germany, in Europe? How is the job market doing? How is the inflation? Is it worth to move or not? And like, what is the purchasing power? And a lot of other questions. So basically, that's why I thought, why not shoot a video on this? Because I'm sure many of you might be looking for the answer to this question. So that's why I'm shooting this video today. I'll be sharing with you the data from different government agencies, like what are their projections. Not just that, I will also share like how was the situation in 2021, how is the situation until now in June 2022, and what are the expectations till the end of 2022 and in 2023, like what are the projections, right? So you might be hearing out the lot of things from your colleagues, from your friends, that recession is coming and all that. Definitely there is a big impact of these things, what's going on around in the geopolitical situation. But yes, we will be talking based on the data, and then maybe you can see what's the situation, and then you can plan your moves accordingly if you are looking to move abroad. Okay, so let's begin with this topic today. Hi guys, this is Sandeep Khaira and you're watching Conical Education. Before we proceed further, let me remind you to subscribe below and enable the bell notification so that you don't miss any updates on this channel. You can also follow me on my social media pages. Links for all of them are given in the description below. Let's dive into today's video. As I already mentioned that I'm going to put forward the data from different agencies regarding how the economy is performing until now. So this is the press release published by the government of Germany, right? This is the press release where like they have shared that until today, as you can see that this report has been published on 30th of June. So like they are talking the persons in employment resident in Germany as of May 2022, right? So there is a 0.1% increase compared to previous month, seasonally adjusted. What does it mean basically, seasonally adjusted? Because sometimes there are kind of workforce which goes out of work or comes back to the work due to change of weather, change of climate, or certain other factors. So they have accounted these kind of seasonal adjustment. And this number, like again they have also given the non seasonally adjusted number, which is again 0.1% higher than the previous month, right? And if you compare it with the May 2021, then compared to last year at this point, May 2022, it is 1.7% higher, right? So that's the thing. Okay, so as they have shared, okay, roughly 45.4 million people are currently employed in Germany, right? So basically if you talk about the pre-crisis level, right? When they say pre-crisis, it means that before pandemic, before COVID, right? It is still more than that time, like 100,000 more, 1 lakh more, right? Seasonally adjusted. So this number is still comparatively higher, right? So they have also given these numbers based on certain other factors, right? So they have said that, okay, compared with previous month, the seasonally adjusted number of persons in employment rose by 34,000, which is 0.1%, right? And following an average increase of 60,000 people from March 2021 till April 2021. So every month 60,000 people came back to the workforce during that time from March 2021 till April 2021, right? And yeah, you can see that, okay, they have spoke about since the peak of COVID 2019, right? And see, they are clearly stating, I would like to bring your attention to this particular statement. The total number of persons in employment thus has grown since the peak of third COVID-19 wave in Germany observed in spring 2021, which is last year, largely unaffected by further infection waves so far by consequences of war in Ukraine. So these numbers, like in spite of all this has happened, like COVID-19 third wave has happened, and then there are certain consequences of war in Ukraine. Still, this increase is still happening during that time. So that's what they wanted to call your attention at, right? I want to speak about particularly this graph, which is persons in employment in Germany, right? If you see, this is the graph from IFO Business Index, which is a German entity which do the market analysis research. Okay, how all the sectors are performing, and what are the projections, what are the actual results. So all of these things this IFO Business Index gives. So let's look at it. So this blue bars you see is the change on the same month earlier year. So that means this May 2022. So this month in May 2022, people in employment are 1.7% higher comparably to May 2021. You can see here, right? This is May 2021. So that's the difference. In the same way, if you look at this blue lines, so it says that, okay, change, you can see like how the comparison with the previous month, right? You can see here December 2021, then January 2021, then February 2022. So this the second point you see here in this table, especially the second line, what on the box, the pop-up what is showing, so is the measure. So earlier you can say in March it was 0.2% higher than the February. Then it came down in April, it came down by 0.1%. Then it again came down in May by 0.1% compared to April, but it is still higher, right? So it is still positive, but it came down by you can say, because I'm if you see it came down by 0.1% compared to last month, right? But still it is positive. That's the good news, because if you see, it is always fluctuating around that, and you can see in all these years, right? So this is not a bad sign. So it is like in during this time, it's they have given the data till May, it is still like fluctuating positively, right? That's the one thing. And then you can also see yeah, change in previous month I have talked about, and then change on previous month, right? So let's talk about this one. So you can see like change, like how so yeah, it is again change on previous month, but seasonally it is not seasonally adjusted. This, whereas the blue line what I was showing, it is seasonally adjusted, right? As I have already mentioned what is seasonally adjusted. So that's the thing. And why they are calling it seasonally adjusted, you can see here these dips, black these let me remove the blue line. Yeah, these small these, you can see these down curves, or you can say, I think this is trough, if I remember correctly. There is a concept of crest and trough, if I remember, it is trough, right? So yeah, if you notice carefully, these are all periods, vacation periods from December to January 2018, again January 2019, again January 2020, again, yeah, this is the Easter holidays again. Yeah, but again there was a COVID was also there. So and then again January 2021, and then you can see January 2022. So they have adjusted this whole, averaged it out, and then came up with this graph. So I think which is not changed much. It is same as before, going on the similar lines. So as of now, until May 2022, it is going okay. Yeah, that is about what is the data till 2022. Yeah, let's look at the unemployment rate. So this is adjusted unemployment rate is 2.8% in May 2022, right? So yeah, this is the adjusted unemployment rate, right? So so there was a decline of 385,000 people compared with May 2021. So that means more workforce came into work, more people got employed, right? So unemployment rate in May 2022 was 2.7%, whereas in May 2021 was 3.7%, which is again good signal. right? So they have again given the like adjusted seasonal and irregular effects due to weather conditions or whatever it is, right? So that's why they have given this average of 2.8% here, right? So which is lower than April, right? Yeah, in April it was 2.9, but yes, in May it is 2.8%, right? So they are further notes, they might not be relevant for you. Let's move to the next thing I want to talk about. Yeah, the next point I want to talk in this video is basically how are the different sectors performing. You can see here manufacturing is there, service sector is there, and then trade is there, construction is there. So service sector will include IT services or other similar profiles, insurances, banking. So many of you might be like, most of you might be into IT side, so that might be relevant for you. Manufacturing is about, you can say, mechanical manufacturing or automobile or some other. So trade would be, I would expect maybe something related to export and import. That's what I think, but yeah, let's still look at it. So IFO business climate, this red line indicates how is the business climate moving, a gray line indicates business situation, and blue line is that business expectations, right? If we look at the manufacturing, I'm going to do the comparison of all four, right? If I look at the business climate in the manufacturing sector, if I look at this point, which is current in May 2022, it is at 0, right? But in if you see in the trade, it is below 0, right? And in construction, it at some point it went down, now it is coming back. And for the service sector, it's the most positive, right? Business climate. So that means those companies are having a good environment to operate. There could be reasons that, okay, service sectors can work virtually, right? They still have the projects coming in from different clients which can work virtually, right? But in case of manufacturing, like there is a supply chain. In service sector, supply chain impact will be lesser because of geopolitical situation. So but manufacturing and construction must be impacted more, right? Now look at the business situation. So business situation is normally, you can see it is at 60 in the past, and then in COVID it went down. So it is still not very low, but yes, it is yeah, it is still like they are able to still operate, right? So their business situation is not very bad, but yes, climate is definitely bad for them. For service sector, business situation is even better, right? You can see, and the reason is that business situation is better, again the same thing, they are getting the work. This situation, supply chains are having lesser impact. Due to that, business is still improving, right, after COVID. And now talk about the expectations. But still, if you look at the service sector, they are still like in, I think this is the beginning of year, January, February, March, April, May, yeah. So they are still not having very high expectation, because consumer, maybe who they might be having a consumers who are working into manufacturing sector, who are working into construction sector, right, or trade sector, or they have a B2B customers, right? They are having the less expectations, but still they are able to manage overall, if you see generally, right? So you can see service sector is the least impacted sector, and the construction sector is, again you can see this number 30, right? So I would say like construction sector is you can say like most hit is the trade sector. You can see which is, it is almost touching -40, 0, right, and below 0, right? And in construction, it is -30, better than trade, but still bad, right? And if you go to the manufacturing sector, yeah, it is better than trade and construction, but not better than service sector. So overall, service sector is doing better compared to manufacturing, manufacturing is doing better compared to construction, construction is doing better compared to trade. So this is how you can divide. So again, this is from IFO business, this is the data from IFO organization, right? So yeah, so now let's talk about the inflation. So I was also reading some data like how is the total average inflation. Then I'll show you this graph again. One second. So yeah, so if you read here, they are saying in Europe, area annual inflation was 8.1% in May 2021, up from 7.4% in April 2022. So inflation is definitely increasing. There is no doubt. Now let's look at this graph and see how it's impacting to a person who is like leading a average life here, to the common man. So let's look at it. Yeah. So this you can see this pink line is all the items, right? And this is the percentage. So all the items are almost fluctuating around, you can say, 8%. So there is 8% inflation in all the items. That could be due to transportation, energy, because energy is higher than transportation is expensive, right? And then food, alcohol, and tobacco, it is also close to 8%. And then energy, this is the worst hit. You can see it's almost 40% higher, right? And then there is a dotted line which is non energy industrial goods, right? It is around 5%. You can see services is also 5%. Again, we saw that on the previous website, previous page, that services was one of the like least impacted sector. That's why services are not so much expensive compared to other areas. So now you might be thinking, like, if energy is 40% higher, then how you can lead a decent life here in Europe, right? You might have this question. But if you think it's just the energy, like how much electricity or how much heat do you burn? Definitely in Europe, we burn a lot of heat, right? Especially in winters, right? We also have most of the apartments or buildings will be having the electric gases, hard plates, basically heating plates, right? We use energy for cooking, we use energy in winters for room heating and all that, right? But still, I can tell you, it is still, it will not be more than, normally if I talk about myself, so I would not be paying more than, I can say, 3% generally. Before, you can say, before this energy got expensive, I would pay around 2%, 3% of my total income into energy normally, right? So if it is 40% higher now, so practically I would end up paying 5% of my income, 4% of my income, 3.5%, or in the worst case 6% of my income, right? So that is the most affected thing. But again, if it goes at, let's say, again 40%, it will definitely impact all these areas, right? So if so they have given the average of 8% in the average inflation based on all these things. But let's say if inflation goes up, definitely if inflation goes up, so now it is 8%. If energy gets even more expensive, right? So, and then it remains like this, definitely there are projections that things will get more and more expensive. This is correct. But again, I don't know what are the further projections, but I am, because I tried to look at what are the projections for inflation, but I couldn't find it. You can also look around, you can search on Google. So maybe let's assume it is 20%, right? So I don't know about the whole country, like how people will survive and all that. But if you say, if you yeah, so this inflation will definitely impact the all the industries. But let's see, if you are working in a good company, decent company, right? So you are working there, then the better the company is, the more stable the company is, chances are that you will still, like, your job will be least impacted, right? So definitely you have to be careful, like when you are looking for a job, you have to be careful. You have to look, you have to get into a company where you see the good background, solid investments they are having. So this kind of stuff, definitely you cannot predict everything, but yes, you can sense, okay, how is the situation, you can get the sense of it, and then accordingly you can take decisions, right? Because at the end, if you want to change your life, if you want to move to Europe, you want to have a European lifestyle, then you have to definitely take the risk, right? When I came here in 2014, I left my job in 2014, right? And then came on job seeker visa, right? I didn't know, there was no one to guide me. In 2 months I had multiple offers with me, but I didn't know back then. I had no one to tell me, okay, how to apply for job seeker visa, how to search for the job, because back then there was nothing available in, like, on social media, on YouTube, right? There were blogs there, blogs were having some information which I gathered and I moved here, right? So you have to take the risk if you want to change it, right? In the same way, like when I was into job, So and then I started my business. So I didn't know that whether I will do well in my business or not. I took that risk, and then I have a flourishing business. So risk is always important, but yes, it has to be calculated. You have to think about it. Now let's look at the basically European wide economy, and then we will also speak about the job market later, right? So if you look at these numbers, these indicators, so these are the projections available on European Commission website. You can see like these are the GDP growth in 2020, which was negative. In 2021 it was 5.4%. In 2022 it was 2.7%, and they are projecting 2.43% in 2023. I think I missed to show you one thing here. Earlier, they were projecting 4% in 2023, but they have adjusted this figure because of geopolitical situation. Yeah, let me show to you. Yeah, that's the interesting one. So these are the forecasts, you can say, or effects of you can say in spring 2022 from March till June 2022. Economic forecast: Russian invasion tests EU economic resilience. Right? They have given like what has happened until now and how is it doing at the moment. Right? Almost 2 years after the start of pandemic, Russia's war against Ukraine possesses new challenges to EU. Right? So yeah, they have explained further like these are the GDP projections what they had in 2021, and then red shows that okay in 22 and in 23 yellow indicates. Right? Now let's look at like what were the projections earlier, and then after this Ukraine situation they have adjusted all the figures. Real GDP growth in both in EU and euro area is now expected 2.7% in 2022, 2.3% in 2023, down from 4% in 2022. Now they have given 2.7%. Earlier they were projecting 4% in 2022, and earlier they were projecting 2.8%, but now they are projecting 2.3% due to situation in Ukraine. Right? So they have downgraded everything based on the situation going on. Right? So yeah, it is still positive if you compare it with COVID 2020. Right? So but we will also talk about the labor market further. It has also talked about it. The main hit to the global and EU economies comes through higher energy prices, which I have already explained to you, that energy is not only affecting the energy but all the other sectors. So I think I don't need to explain it further. So pressure on prices beyond energy, again the same thing. Right? Like they are saying Ukraine and Russia are the key exporters for grain, oil seeds and agricultural commodities. Right? Because of that, so there is a pressure beyond energy, these things are getting expensive, and then there is inflation. Right? So the effect of all of this situation is definitely curtailing the purchasing power. Right? So the purchasing power has further reduced because of this. Right? So yeah, if you see the savings rate is thus projected to fall in EU from 17% last year to 13.8% in 2022 and 12.5% in 2023. But let me tell you, this is the average rate. Right? You cannot take it as an average. Okay, if you move to Germany, if you move to Europe, you are going to save 12% of your income. Right? Every person is different, because there are cultural differences. Right? There are people from different countries, everyone has their own lifestyle. Right? So you have to see what kind of life you are expecting, on what all things you want to spend more money, on what all things you want to spend less money. Accordingly you will be able to save, or like you can lead the lifestyle. So these are the factors, but these are the average. But I can tell you, normally if I talk about the Indian culture, right, so lot of expenses in our culture are, we don't have many expenses which you will find in the Western culture. So from that perspective, this you can add up maybe 5 to 8%, depending on what you are looking forward to, that you will be able to save. right? But again, it is also based on the average salary, right? It's not talking about the somebody is getting 100,000 euros or 130k, because I can tell you the average in my academy, most people are getting 70 to 80,000 euros. There are exceptions, people got 100,000, people got 130k, people also got 200k, right? So these percentages are not applicable for exceptional salaries. Even 80,000 is not an average salary. If I calculate the salary in Germany, like you can just Google the salary in Germany, or Google the average salary in your profile in Europe. Maybe in your profile, most likely it will fall somewhere between 50,000 to 65,000, or less than 65,000 in most of the profiles, right? But we are talking here above average salaries, 70,000, 80,000, right? Or even 100,000. So based on that, these percentages will not be relevant to you. Investment growth is held back. So they are talking about the commercial investment growth. Like I read this section basically. So they are saying that, okay, companies are not investing further into their businesses because they don't have much consumers out there. Their profitability has been reduced, right? Because of reduced profitability, they don't have extra money to expand their business further, right? But this is, you can say, waiting period, you can say, until the situation gets normalized, and let's hope that things get better, right? And outlook for external demand also weakens. It is referring to export. Due to all of this, all the economies are impacted. Exports have also been reduced, right? So it also has the impact. So you can read further. Yeah, it's available on European Commission website. Okay, so this is basically deficit levels. So general government deficit continue to decline in 2022 and 23 despite energy related measures and humanitarian assistance. What does it mean? So from 4.7% of GDP in 2021, so general government deficit in EU forecast to fall 3.6% of GDP in 2022, right? So why this fall has came down? Because government was spending money on COVID, so they were losing the resources, right? So due to that, they had this projection that, okay, there will be impact on economy. So from 4.7% to 3.6%, plus there was no, like, you can say, decline in businesses, jobs and all that, right? But then they have said that these deficits decreasing factors are said to override to additional costs. Basically they are, because they are saying that, okay, COVID, due to COVID-19, they had some additional expenses which are now reducing. But because these COVID expenses are going down, but energy expenses are coming up, right? Because if you see, these factors are said to override additional costs of measures to mitigate the impact of high energy prices, right? To deal with humanitarian crisis following the invasion of Ukraine. So they have taken this budget and putting into Ukrainian humanitarian work and all that, right? So further drop in deficit to 2.5%, right? So still what they are saying, due to all this, like, still they have to spend the money onto energy and all that, right? So but still, if you see the expected unwinding of energy related measures and still increasing cyclic component, overall these developments imply a supportive stance in 2022 and followed by normalization, right? So that's what they are expecting. It will be better in 2022 and there will be some correction in 23. Now finally at the end, they are concluding that they have given all the data related to what they are expecting and what is the situation until now, but they have still put some warning signs, like, let's say, if COVID comes back, or situation in US and China in their economies gets bad, or maybe anything happens due to war. So they have given this, you can say, disclaimer kind of thing, that anything can happen, so which they cannot rule out. So risk will be there, but again, as I said earlier, you have to calculate everything and decide what you want to do. And the last thing, I want to talk about the forecast for Germany, right? Even I want to show you the forecast for Europe as well. Let's talk about the forecast for Europe first. GDP growth, you can see here, it is again European Commission website, right? In 2021 it was 5.4%, 5.9 in 2020, and then adjusted to 2.7 in Europe, which was earlier 4%, and now In 2023, 2.3%. Inflation, they are talking 0.7 in 2020, 2.9 in 21, 6.8 in 2022, and 3.2 in 23, which is expected to decrease. So these are the expectations, right? Which is positive if everything gets settled, but we don't know. Unemployment rate, so 7.2 in 2022, 7% in 21, 6.7% 22, 2023 6.5%, which is again a positive sign. General government balance, so I don't know about this factor, you can research more. And then there is a public debt, which is also percent of GDP, it is also decreasing. You can see current account balance, which you can see increased in 2021, then went down in 2022, expected to increase in 23, which is again positive. Now let's talk about the Germany forecast. So for GDP in 2020, it was minus 4.6. In 2021, it was 2.9. In 2022, they are expecting 1.6. In 23, they are expecting to increase. Inflation also, they are expecting will increase in 2022, but decrease in 2023. And unemployment rate is also increasing in 21, like increased in 21, then decreased in 2022, and further will decrease in 23. Right, again public debt, so it is again fluctuating, not very different, but yes, there are certain fluctuations. You can see gross public debt will definitely decrease. Right now in 2021 it was higher, in 2022 it's expected to decrease, and then it's further expected to decrease in 2022. So public debt is basically the basically finances or loans in comparison to GDP they are talking. These are the current account balances, 2.7% in 2020, then further increase to 3% in 2021, decrease in 2022 due to the situation, and expected to increase in 23. Yeah, so basically this is the data I wanted to share with you guys. So I think I have shared all the information with you. So yeah, based on that, I think you can summarize, you can see like which sector you belong to and what is the impact on you, and you can decide your moves accordingly. Basically, if you are from service sector, then it's going to be most safer for you. If you are from other sectors, then you will have the higher impacts, right? So yeah, this is the conclusion. So I would say, yeah, I tried to bring up the data in as much as detail I could. So there could be mistakes because I'm not a financial expert. I just shared what I found on the internet. I tried to collate it. So if you find any kind of mistakes, just ignore it. Try to refer yourself because I'm not an expert. I have just shared the websites with you. I will also put them all in the description, so you can also refer them later. So this is all in today's video. Give a thumbs up or comment below, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Have a good evening.